Welcome to the weekly Pacent test video. On this next screen, you're going to see all of the start times of the problems, so you can just fast forward to the problems that you want to look at. All right, here we come with this week's video. So we're looking at the week 14 test, and remember, concepts on the week 14 test will come back several times. So for example, we're going to start with concept 14.1 here. This is the first time it's been on a test, which means it'll show up 2 more times. Concept 13, which we'll discuss second, that'll show up at least 1 more time. Plus, they'll show up if you do any intervention tests. So there's a lot of reasons to study these and make sure you understand them. So the first thing they ask is they give you a table. They give you a value, either the fraction, the decimal, or the percent, and they ask you to convert to the other two. One of the things, remember, anytime they're asking you to do the fraction portion, those have to be simplified fractions. So here is the simplified fraction for 15/100ths. Because when you see this, you say it as 15/100ths. That's 15 over 100, which simplifies to 3 over 20. For the percent side, remember that when we have a decimal, to make it into a percent, we multiply it by 100, so times 100. We move the decimal, stick in a percent sign. If it's the last place, so that's where the decimal would be, but since there's no value past that, no value to the right, we don't need that decimal. If we had 3 places, we would keep the decimal. All right, for the next one, we have 1/4, and 1/4 changed into a decimal is 0.25. Now that's one to remember, that's one to memorize. A way to do it if you haven't memorized it yet is you take that 1/4 and you say, what would it be over 100? Well, we have to multiply 25 times 4 to get 100. So 25 times 1 is 25. And then we just say it, 25/100ths, 25/100ths. Once we have the 25/100ths, then we do that same multiply percent, and that gets us our 25%. Our final given value, 96%. When we're changing from a percent back to a decimal, so we want to go this direction now, percent to decimal, we divide by 100. So divide by 100, move the decimal point, that gives us 96/100ths. And then we come down here, 96/100ths, right here, 96/100ths simplifies to 24/25ths. So that's how we're going to change from fractions, decimals, and percents. All right, to the second part of this section. Second part asks us to find the terminating decimals. So these are decimals that end, that stop. So for example, let's grab our calculator here, shove it over there. 7/56. Well, 7/56 simplifies to 1/8. 7 goes into 7 once, 7 goes into 56. And that's when you should remember, you should memorize 0.125. Remember, to do it on a calculator, 7 divided by 56, 0.125. That's the same thing you get if you divide 1 by 8, the simplified version. As for the next two, 1/18, 1 divided by 18, you can see that gives us something that does not end, does not terminate. Let me get this out of here, shove it over right there. So that one does not terminate. That is 0.05 with a line over that 5 that goes on forever. Similarly, 1 divided by 37, that also gives us something that goes on forever. In this case, we have 0.027, And the 0, 2, 7 all repeats. We put our line over the top of that. And finally, our third choice, 39 over 52. 39 divided by 52. That stops at 0.75. That's a fraction, by the way. That fraction would simplify to 3 over 4, 3 groups of 13 over 4 groups of 13, which is 0.75. So those are terminating decimals. On to the house. Let's get rid of that calculator. On to the house problem. So here's the house problem, and the house problem is just a function of reading. This really is a reading problem. The thing that we talked about in class to do with every single part is to say, okay, if 1 unit is equal to 3 feet, then every time we see 3 feet, that's a unit. So this is 1 unit in size right here. This 30-foot wide room is 10 units in size. This 18 feet deep, 18 divided by 3, 6 units in size. And that's the living room. So that's the living room. So we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's the 10 units right across there. Let me not block my doorway. We might have to get in the house. And then the 6 units up the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's the case with all of this. You just need to go through piece by piece. Look for keys. So a door opens on the west wall. Here's the west wall. This is the west side. This is the east side. This is the south side. A door opens on the west wall, 6 feet south. So 6 feet is 2 units. So there's 2 units south. And you just have to walk through the problem that way. It is very much a reading carefully type of problem. Okay, that's one that I'd like you to look over. And then if you still have questions, feel free to come back and ask me in class. Let me shift the screen just so you know that is concept 13.1. To the back of the test. Here we go on the back. So they gave us the line to start with, and they asked us 4 questions. Is the slope 12? And by the way, everything that was true, we were supposed to circle. Is the slope 12? Well, yes. Here is the point 560. Slope right here is our reminder about slope right there. Slope is always the y divided by the x. Here the 5 is the x. The 60 is the y. 60 divided by 5 is 12. That's true. Intercept is 12. That's not true. Intercept is 0. We can see it right there. Let me change up that color so it shows up a little better. Right there is where the lines intersect, where this line that we drew intersects with the y-axis. So that's the y-intercept. So that's false. See? Martha worked 7 hours. She'll make $84. You bet. The slope, remember, is the per something price. In this case, per hour. If this was a problem about how fast you were running, it might be the per minute, or it might be the, no, guys, you're building something, it's the per time frame that you're building, or if it takes you an hour to build each box, it's the per box, whatever it is. Slope is always the one item of whatever the x is. Since it's hours worked as the x, slope is what you do in one of those. So if the slope is what you do in one of those, in 7 of those, she'll make $84 is true. 12 times 7, 84. Finally, D, equation of the line. Y equals 1 over 12x. That's not true. Here, once again, is our equation of a line. Our equation is always y equals the slope times x. Since the slope was 12, the correct answer is y equals 12x. And for those of you who want to check the bottom problem, there you go. There's the y. Again, the slope is 110. Haley earns 110 per day. That's the true statement. Okay, so now you have seen this test. Use it to study for weeks 15 and 16. Use it to study for interventions. If you have more questions, come on back and ask.